Welcome back to The Rebel's Edge, where Pete and I are going to discuss a quarter point or a half point and which one makes a difference. Well, we'll have the answer for you on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang.
Hey, you got, we've had that for a long time, John. What also is a long time, we've been doing this broadcast for a while now. I mean, it's great. It's a lot of fun. We get more and more people watching every day, and, some are getting clips, some are getting the whole thing, but it's great. A lot of fun.
Yep. Well, we've got over 600 episodes in the can, Pete.
Yeah.
And one of these days we'll be able to announce a big deal that's still like right at the edge. But all right, he is Pete Najarian, folks. I'm Jon Najarian. We bring you the Rebel's Edge 4 days a week. So that means you still got us tomorrow, but you won't have us on Friday. And in fact, Friday we'll be down in Aventura. More on that later. Let's kick it off, Pete, with macro, which is what we always do. The Federal Reserve's anticipated interest rate decision is the primary focus of markets today. It's heavily, the odds favor a 25 basis point cut. I don't think I'm going out on an edge here, Pete, to say we're expecting 25 here at Market Rebellion too.
Yeah, I'd say the quarter point is where we're going to be. And the reason being, John, maybe 50 would have been a possibility. But with the dual mandate and everything else, and you start looking around and you see where inflation is, I think that it just sort of seems to play out better that it's going to be a quarter. And let's be honest, it's been 9 months, right, since the last cut. So just having a cut, I think, is at least a good decision. But I'd say it's pretty damn close to a layup.
Yep, has to be close to a layup, like 98, 99%. Something like that.
Yeah.
However, if you look over at silver for fantastic futures, I'm going to say silver miners are declining, and the miners always lead the actual precious metal, whether it's gold, silver, or platinum. The miners generally lead in both directions, and right now they're reflecting a drop in spot silver prices, Pete. The decline follows some profit taking. Yeah, we all get it. Silver and gold have been off to the races this year, doing much better than the S&P. But I'm going to say silver is my fantastic future, Pete.
And you and I have talked about this. I just was on Schwab Network, John, talking about exactly this, the Burl Ives trade. And she took that. That was great. I love that she loved it. But, silver and gold, right? And they've hit all-time highs. It's been an incredible run to the upside. Some easing back. Is it more than easing back? We'll find out. I mean, I think it takes a little while to get all that figured out. But I think the reality is it's had a huge run. We've seen GLD just time after time after time being one of those really large volume buyers out there. And by the way, speaking of large volume buyers, had some people stepping up in the volatility index yesterday, John. Some really big buying out in November, out in December. So are they thinking that something is out there right now? No, probably not, or they would have gotten a little bit closer. But it's interesting to see some of the huge VIX buying that we'd seen yesterday, 60,000 at a clip on spreads. Pretty interesting to see. As we've been also looking at the VIX between 14 and 16, we're getting a little bit higher than 16 today. It's in the 16s, but nonetheless, I think all of that is pretty daggone interesting. I'd also even just throw in this mortgage refinancing. That's on the rise by 60% as we've gotten to 3-year lows. So something else that I think you can kind of put into why today is a pretty damn big day.
Absolutely. And again, it'll be, they are not going to say it's one and done. He'll always say data dependent, but it's not really true, is it, Jerome? And the reason I say it's not really true is he said, well, it's the tariffs, we would have moved except for the tariffs. What part of the mandate is that? Somebody's going to have to explain to me, because, maybe he thinks like Goldman, Pete. Maybe he thinks, oh, the tariffs are going to cause inflation. Not so much. All right, let's go on to Lyft, Pete.
Yeah.
LYFT, because we were lucky enough to have unusual activity in this one. the stock exploded to $23.50 in the pre-market, Pete, after announcing a partnership with Alphabet's Waymo to launch autonomous ride-hailing services in Nashville, starting just 4 months from now. So the unusual activity, yeah, the stock was basically 20 bucks. Covered it yesterday, and here it is trading to the upside today. 1 day later, it's basically a pretty nice pick, Pete. It explodes up and trades to 23.57. It's 23.78 or 23.80 right now. This is a big deal for them. Their CEO said it's a big deal, and if you had some calls, it's a big deal for you too.
I would say so. I mean, that's a heck of a move, John. Probably a lot of people didn't expect it to go quite that quickly. And then all of a sudden this announcement comes out, the autonomous riding with this and going with Waymo, and over 23 bucks, as you mentioned, 23.50, whatever it's gotten up to. Doesn't really matter. It's made a huge move. 52-week highs hit today. And a lot of that just based upon how quick, how efficient, how all of this is coming together. As a matter of fact, I saw a great interview of the CEO this morning just talking about this, talking about how he's actually been a driver in Lyft and engages with people and all that type of thing. I think they've done a lot of things the right way. I mean, we always talk about Uber, but a lot of the time it seems like, Lyft is sort of the bad brother or whatever. So I don't think that's true anymore. I think that the competition is on, and this deal with Waymo is certainly something that's going to be very, very big for Lyft.
All you got to do is look at what it's doing to Uber's shares. They're down 5%. They're at the low of the day right now.
Yep.
All right. Well, then we've got Workday, Pete. And this one, they get an endorsement from a pretty big group because basically Elliott Investment Management disclosed a $2 billion with a B, $2 billion stake in the company. They love what they're doing with industry-leading growth potential and customer retention. They talked all about their software franchise and so forth, Pete. This is a big deal for Workday. And the fact that Elliott, a pretty recognized activist investor group, has said, we like this one. We're not trying to jump in here and change what they're doing. We think they're doing a great job and we want to ride the wave.
And they are. I mean, that $2 billion, like you talked about, that investment is pretty incredible. How about the fact that they're also talking about, John, the repurchase program of about $4 billion worth as well. So a lot going on, a lot really good. If you take a look at Workday, it was 212, got all the way up to 240 in basically call it the last month or so. So it's had a really a heck of a run. Pretty incredible. They've got this unique software. That's what's so intriguing, I think, for Elliott. It's great. They're talking about long-term, not just near-term, but long-term value that they see for Workday. So they're committed. And Elliott, like you said, they oftentimes do get involved. They're not involved right now. I think they just like the company, John, and what they're doing and how they're doing it. But at some point, Elliott, being who Elliott is, I think they're going to probably get involved in some way or another. Oftentimes, they want to get a board seat or something. And we'll see when that, if that comes at some time in the near future or not.
Well, now time for a little Bidu, Pete.
Yeah.
And Bidu has just exploded to the upside. In August, we had unusual activity in it when it was a $90 stock. Today, it is a $134 stock. I mean, it is just running. And this activity, there you see the Bidu when it was a $90 stock. They were buying January 150s. Then just yesterday, Pete, they were buying with the stock at 120, almost $30 above where it was a month before. They're still buying 150 strike. That's the target, in other words. We always like telling you guys that the nice thing about options is they give you a time frame and they give you a target. And in this case, buying these out of the money calls with the stock at 120 and they're buying the 150s, well, it's 134 today. It's been a nice bet.
It's not only a nice bet, John. I mean, just in the last 3 weeks or so, it jumped from 95 to 135. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Also, you've got all sorts of analysts out there going absolutely crazy now, John, in terms of what they're doing as far as upgrades, getting to buys and so forth, but also the price targets that are out there. $143 for one. I saw another one with Jefferies is 157 price target. So some decent size we're talking about, even though it's already made this run to where it is right now. A lot of folks out there think, well, there might even be a little bit more in the tank for the upside right now. They've got all these AI developments that they're working on, new AI ideas and so forth. This has really become a popular one. We've seen a lot of unusual option activity. If I'm not mistaken, John, I think we're even seeing some today. So it just keeps on flowing, and it's pretty interesting to see what Bidu's doing right now. We talked about Baba forever, right? And Baba's done well, don't get me wrong. But as far as UOA, Bidu has stepped up, and they've had a lot of great success with Bidu. We're seeing a lot less as far as Baba's concerned.
Well, and if you guys would like to know how that guy, Pete Najarian, trades an unusual activity like this, or how I trade it, or how many of our traders trade it, some of us are put sellers when that happens. Some of us are call spreads. Some of us are iron condors and all that kind of stuff. We're going to show you a lot of strategies, and we're going to do it live Friday, triple witching Friday. All you got to do is scan that QR code, folks, and then you could be virtually in the audience with the rest of the folks, because it was sold out back in July. We told you it would sell out fast. It did. Now you could only join virtually, but you get everything that goes on stage, and you get $200 to spend any way you want. Merchandise, education, coaching, mentoring, subscriptions, whatever you want to buy at Market Rebellion, $200 to spend if you scan the QR code and decide to attend virtually. I think you'll thank us for it, because we'll give you some great strategies. All right, Pete, one more. NFE, New Fortress Energy. Now, it's always a little different when a $1 stock, they come in and they're buying the $2 calls. But that's what they were doing here, Pete. This one had unusual activity. And look at how this paid off. It was $1.79 just yesterday, folks. This is the 17th today. Yesterday, 16th, they bought 15,000. That's 1.5 million shares of this stock that they could control from $2 to wherever it goes. Well, it went to $2.85 today. So I know you guys can do the math, but I'll say roughly it's a $1 move in a day for a $1 stock. So that's massive. And the calls that were 25 cents, they went to $1.10 at least today, Pete. So, you know, you want a 4X trade, folks, and I don't mean FX. I mean, do you want a 4X, as our friend Grant Cardone would say? Well, this is exactly the sort of thing you get with unusual activity. Tell us why it's moving today, Pete.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, John. I mean, 52-week high is $16. So even though it's made this big move, it was sitting on the lows, and it made this move today. Can it continue to the upside? One of the things that I found really interesting, John, is that they did this LNG deal with, well, I know somebody who lives in Puerto Rico. Well, that's where they're doing it. That's where they're doing the deal. It boosts the debt pressure that they've had or whatever. They signed a 7-year deal, $4 billion for the LNG side of it for Puerto Rico. So big deal, big news. That's what's given this thing the big lift. Now, can it continue? I'm not sure, but I would say this. Discipline is what we always preach about, and we talk about something that's moved. You were just talking about it went from 25 cents to over $1. That tells me that it might not be a bad idea to, if somebody was fortunate enough to be there, you might want to consider taking a little something off, just a little something, if you wanted to let it ride a little bit longer. But, you know, there is something that has to happen after you've got action like that. And like you said, it's a 4X at least, probably even more. I think you usually probably got to trim a little bit of that, John. And I'm not telling people how to do it. I'm just saying that would be a disciplined route.
That's what I would do, and it's what Pete would do, folks. And you guys can roll the dice if you want, but pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. You got a nice winner in this one. I and he would take some profits off the table. All right. How about a little Baker Mayfield, Pete? Is that what you want to see, or do you want to see stadiums?
Yeah, I love them both. I don't know. I'll let Jared call that one.
Well, we always look for interesting videos, folks. And this one, take a look at and a listen to what they're talking about with Baker Mayfield going from the #1 overall pick, Pete, Cleveland Browns, to being basically cut.
Flushed.
And now looking like he could lead another team to the Super Bowl.
You haven't won a playoff game in 26 years.
Yep.
and he wins you a playoff game. The next year they go 8-9. It's not like they went 3-14. They go 8-9, and they say, boom, not good enough. See ya. We're sending you to Carolina. Goes to Carolina, plays 7 games, gets cut. People forget, he didn't get traded from Carolina. He got cut. I've been cut. That sucks. It's tough. I mean, you start doubting who you are. You walk in, the GM's like, hey, man, thanks for everything, but we don't want you. You're not good enough. Here's a gallon bag, trash bag. Go in there, get your shit, get out. Give me your iPad, thanks, hit the road.
Give me your iPad.
He gets picked up by the Rams. And it wasn't because they needed a starter. They picked him up because Stafford's hurt. They're 3-9. John Wofford's struggling. Bryce Perkins isn't a good backup. They just need a guy to get him through the year. And it felt like Mayfield was on his way out. I thought he was going to be out of the league. Or a guy that's a journeyman quarterback, you know, like guys that are first rounders that are now career backups. I thought that's the way he's going. But he balls out on that Thursday night game. I don't think you understand. He was there for 2 days. It takes 2 months to even start to learn a playbook. He learned it in 2 days and led a 98-yard drive for a touchdown.
He's a stud, man.
Goes to Tampa. And like you said, follows Tom Brady. That is tough to do. I was with Tom. The culture that he sets in a locker room, you've been with Tom, is wild. And for you to have to follow in those footsteps after he won a Super Bowl 2 years ago and still live up to those expectations is impressive. But he's done that. 8,500 passing yards, which is second in the NFL during that time. 73 total touchdowns, only behind Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. And he's led them to the NFC South division title 2 years in a row. And they won a playoff game against Philly in 2023. People forget that. So the intangibles are great. When I look at it from a quarterback standpoint, solid arm, athletic enough to make plays with his legs, accurate enough, 71% last year. Would like him to clean up some of those decision-making and turnover issues. But those things are great. But the reason he's top 10 for me is because what's between the ears.
Between the ears.
Yep. He's a special guy. I mean, to bounce back, John, after being what he was first pick in the draft, goes to Cleveland. It's a complete, nothing went right. Everything was a problem. And it's amazing how the last 2 years, go back, everybody, and take a look at the last 2 years of Baker Mayfield versus Patrick Mahomes, who everybody acknowledges is, give or take, the best, right? MVP, the best, all those types of things. Well, his numbers look pretty damn good, John. Head to head, pretty damn good. Who's sort of struggling a little bit is the Miami Dolphins. So why don't we jump onto that? They've got Tua. Now, they're only 2 games in, but in game 1 versus the Colts, I think if you're looking at everything and you say, well, it's Daniel Jones over there, they've got him, we've got Tua, we've got all these different other players here at Miami. Well, Daniel Jones, 400 yards of offense is what Indianapolis put up, John. Daniel Jones threw 260 yards against him. Jonathan Taylor was running up and down the field against him. He was averaging like 4 or 5 yards a carry. And they lost to the Colts and Daniel Jones as the quarterback, 33-8. So that's one. Then they had the Patriots this week. Isn't that a bounce back game? You're going against the Patriots. Drake May's kind of a new guy and all the rest of that thing, a newer guy, I should say. They stunk. Now, they not only stunk, but their defense can't stop anybody either, John. They gave up 66 points in 2 games so far this year. And you know what? They're going to Buffalo tomorrow on Thursday for a game. Buffalo beat the Ravens. Buffalo beat the snag out of the Jets. They scored over 70 points already this year, and they're going up against the defense that Miami's got and a quarterback with Tua who's kind of struggled. I think this is something where you might start going, well, they've got a problem in Miami, and this coach, and this leads into the next one, but I'll let you go on this NFL one. The coach, when does the coach for Miami, at what point does he get fired? They'll be 0-3. I think it's too early. But if this continues, John, and they get no better, when do they fire this guy?
Yeah, because, Pete, it's not like they still have the cheetah, one of the best wide receivers in the game. They've got Tua, even though he's been injured. And I understand that if he was healthy and not as prone to these concussions as he is, or basically protected himself better one way or the other, they'd be a different team, but they're not. And eventually people in South Florida are going to be pretty upset having one of the great franchises in all of pro football and having them go 0-3, which, is a virtual certainty at this point playing Buffalo.
I would think so. I mean, Josh Allen's been great, but don't forget, he's not the only one. James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, is playing outstanding football, John. He's a blocker. He's really more of a runner, but he's a great runner. He can block if he has to. He can do it. He can catch out of the backfield. He actually is kind of one of these running backs who probably doesn't get nearly enough credit. And the reason is because everybody's looking at Josh Allen and what he can do. And Josh can run, and Josh can block, and Josh can throw the ball the length of the field practically. So interesting. How about college football, John? Speaking of interesting, so Division I football. Now, we were just talking about the Miami Dolphins, and when would you pull the trigger on that quarterback or on the head coach? When does he get fired? Well, in college football, apparently in week 3, going into week 4, because UCLA just fired Deshaun Foster, who's had a miserable experience as the head coach at UCLA. He's gone. And by the way, they stink. UCLA is really playing some really terrible football right now. How about this, though, John? Virginia Tech said, you know what? I think we got to fire our head coach. You know, it's one of the great atmospheres in all of college football. When they come out onto the field, they've got all the great music playing and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they've had talented players and a great coach for a long time who got replaced because of age and everything else. But it's amazing, John. I don't know, the creativity, the consistency, all those kinds of things at Colorado. I'm just throwing this one out to you because this is out there. This isn't Pete saying this. There are a lot of folks out there in the media saying, at what point does Deion actually get to the point where he might get relieved of his job? I don't think it happens. It's going to have to take a hell of a lot of losing this year for that to happen. But, you know, there's already 2 out there. And when do we see 3, 4, 5, and 6? Usually it comes late in the season. It's only 3 weeks in. These are 2 0-3 teams we're talking about, UCLA and Virginia Tech. But what do you think? I mean, does Deion, in other words, will he make it through the whole season, do you think?
Yes, unless he doesn't want to.
Right.
Because he's been so good for the program, Pete, and not just football program. I mean, the applications to the college have gone through the roof. My daughter goes there, as you know, and it is just, one of the toughest schools to get into right now because of Deion Sanders.
Yep.
As far as people on the hot seat, Pete, I got a bunch of them. I mean, you've got Luke Fickell at Wisconsin.
Yep.
And he's got a big contract, though, in a relative way. It's like a $27 million buyout. So maybe they just let him keep going for a while and hope the fans stay drunk up there at Camp Randall. I'd say the Bill Napier at Florida. And here's what may or may not save him, Pete. Mm-hmm. First of all, they have Georgia on the 1st of November. So that's going to be a big loss. If he can keep it close, maybe he survives. But the reason he might not get fired until after that game, Pete, is because he does all the play calling. He's the offensive coordinator as well. Now, you're risking a lot if you basically throw the playbook out and have another coach take over with, a team that's already in disarray. It just makes it worse. So do they have to wait till the end of the season for Napier at Florida, Pete? Because he certainly has not covered himself in glory since he's been there. They've had a UCLA-like experience, Pete.
I don't know if they're that bad.
They're pretty damn bad.
But they're pretty close. And, people have high expectations, right? I mean, the Florida State, and Miami, just inherently, they're going to have high expectations. They expect you to do something, right? And you know what? You've got all the talent in the world just in your own state. If you can keep any of the higher end guys, which they've done, but something has to be done. They should be better than what they are. And, we've seen school like Miami going out and getting a quarterback in Carson Beck. I mean, they're doing the things they need to do. Same thing with Florida State. I know Florida signed other guys too, but maybe they're not getting the right guys if they're not able to win enough football games. And that's got to be a problem. I don't know how deep they have to go into the season before they make that move. I will say this with Deion, and I agree 100% with you. They're not getting rid of Deion, in my opinion. That's other people saying that. But they got Wyoming this week, John. Wyoming's a pretty well-coached football team, and they're a pretty damn good football team. So that one, if it goes the wrong way, that seat does get a little warmer. I'm not saying it gets hot, but it starts to show a little heat it's pink, not red, but it's pink for sure.
All right, folks, that's it for today. We wait for the Fed with that quarter point cut, which is coming our way, and we hope you guys trade it well. See you soon.